3, 2, 1. Record. What's up? Welcome to Transformers IDW Comics. Let's roll the tape. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Transformers Spotlight Orion Pax. What's up, gentlemen? You ready to talk?
Yep.
Can I ask a quick question? So sorry.
Yeah.
Who in that intro video, the last guy that shows his face is coming up, he's got a USB port plugged into his face. Who is that?
Sunstreaker.
And I know it's not a USB port, but I'm not even gonna ask what's happening because I know it's gonna come up later, but that's cool. I never noticed.
Real soon.
That's cool.
Well, let's make it happen sooner than later. So, all right. All right, let's see. The Transformers Spotlight Orion Pax.
It's beautiful artwork.
All right, so story so far. One day he will be known as Optimus Prime, but millions of years ago, during the early days of the conflict between Autobots and Decepticons, he was a peacekeeper named Orion Pax, and he's about to get a taste of what the future holds for him. So we know the story takes place prior to the events of Autocracy.
All right, you got story by James Roberts, pencils by Steve Kurth, inks by Juan Castro, colors by Jay Obertov, and Graphic Slava, letters by Sean Lee, editor John Barber, editorial assistant Tom Boeing. Works
for me. This was on newsstands December 2012. The last comic we did was Megatron Origins. That was 2007. Let's say we got 4 million years ago, 10,000 feet above Cybertron. They're kind of giving us a flash forward of things to come in the comic.
Yeah, and this comic is actually a flashback from 2012, and that's why it takes place in this section of the continuity.
Yes, this one's titled Omega's Conundrum, and right off the bat, we see here is Orion Pax is getting an upgrade from obviously from none other than Wheeljack. Wheeljack is the man for that. We also do see Rung here and Kaput. They're having some banter back and forth, kind of talking about his new upgrades. And Prime is kind of busting some chops.
Yeah, he's kind of upset about his faceplate. He's just kind of wondering where his lucky faceplate's at. Wheeljack's like, those are out now. Thinking about getting rid of it myself.
Too. Huh. I'm kind of wondering where it's at myself. So let's see. This is Kaput. This is Kaput right here. Looks like he is a medical officer, engineer, and then we got Rung right here. And they're kind of just going over, Rung's kind of going over some stuff about just how to cope with your new body. I don't know if that's a real big deal when you get reformatted. I don't know.
Rung is a psychologist / psychiatrist. I'm not sure exactly which one he is, but that's kind of what his thing is.
Okay, for the first time, we see a little bit of banter between these two. Orion Pax says, I intend going back to my original body once this is all over. Typical. I go to all the trouble of arranging an emergency refit, and you're already pining for Pax Mark 1. Never turn down an upgrade, Pax. Bigger, better, faster, stronger. That's what matters. Zeta, good to see you. So this is the first time we see Zeta Prime, because last we saw Megatron killed Sentinel Prime, so he is the next Prime in line. Let's see.
Yeah, notice he says, Zeta, good to see you. And Zeta's like, just Zeta?
Oh, yeah. Gotta
Already
put some respect
clinging
with
on to
that.
that prime authority.
Already getting to his head.
Yep. His design is very unique as a prime, because they show a picture later on of what Zeta looks like, and it's not really anything like that. Makes you wonder what he transforms into.
Right. Oh, and then we're introduced here to Nightbeat. Nightbeat comes in. Let's see. They're talking about. They're talking about they're gonna have to do a rescue mission. Apparently, Ratchet's been captured. So it says, okay, so the Decepticons are holding Ratchet here. I say here, but you're looking at a region of Cybertron that's hundreds of miles wide. The Rust Spot. The most treacherous, hazardous, dangerous stretch of land on the planet. Did I say hazardous? Hazardous was there, yes. So, let's see. If I'm not mistaken here, Briag, is this where they're kind of setting up the ins and outs of the meet?
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting how he used miles instead of a Cybertronian metric.
Oh, yeah.
I
I
know
was thinking about
later
I was
on in the
thinking about
comics,
that.
whenever they've gotten acclimated to Earth, they start using more Earth metrics, but up until then, they use a lot of Cybertronian metrics. So whenever they did this flashback, they kind of forgot to actually rewind it and use Cybertronian metrics.
I always wonder that when they talk about like their time frame, they don't. Every now and then, I think they'll say minutes or hours, but most of the time they say metacycles or something like that.
Yeah, cycles, clicks, and stuff like that.
I think Nightbeat is the one in the gold in the bottom picture.
Yeah, see,
In the very bottom picture, Zeta Prime is in the gold.
Okay.
Nightbeat has the red visor.
Got you.
Red
So,
goggles.
and who's the one in the gold down below?
Zeta Prime.
Zeta
He took
Prime.
over for Sentinel.
He didn't get the mask memo.
Yeah, yeah. Those are out.
Actually, it's pretty good. It looks like Thanos.
yeah, it's a very different. It's a very night type of design, like knights and warriors type deal.
Yeah, and kind
Oh,
of
it's very dark.
kind of like an antiquity type look. Not modern, just a little bit more old age, or not old age, a little more ancient, as you'll see in some designs later.
Right here, he says the Rust Spot is fundamentally unmappable, but we think that somewhere underneath it is a network of tunnels, the perfect hiding place for a Decepticon terror cell. Your new body packs will enable you to better negotiate the terrain. Yeah, I call Nightbeat. Those are Camaro goggles. That's what I say. But I have an affinity for Transformers with that type of visor. Those are the ones I usually like the most for some reason. All right, so let's see. Zeta and Pax are talking. So we're sticking with Plan A. Escort a Decepticon prisoner across the Rust Spot. Rendezvous with the enemy and make the swap. An old-fashioned hostage exchange, yes. Whatever it takes to get our chief medical officer back. When do I leave? Okay, so, and right here we get to see Alpha Trion for the first time. Go ahead.
Yeah, the chief medical officer, isn't that's Ratchet, isn't it? Or is it somebody else?
It is Ratchet, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Just to give you a kind of a time frame of exactly how long he has been chief medical officer.
Yeah.
This is the first comic that actually mentions it for continuity wise.
Yeah, I mean this is way back. So Ratchet's been OG You know, he's been there. And obviously Wheeljack as well when you talk about medical expertise and engineering technique, expertise. So right here we get an exchange right here. Alpha Trion, Your Eminence, it's a pleasure to meet you. As Dominus Ambus wrote in the Ascetic Cybertronian pleasure is a distraction from the pursuit of truth. Right. An interesting design. Prior to its recent appropriation as the Autobot sigil, this was the closest our race had to a universal symbol. I don't know how to pronounce some of these, but from the High Priest of Kuth, Kinzir, to the various ignition cults, every circuit sect held the first face in high regard. It would reappear whenever our race was on the brink of profound global unrest. Each subtle variation in design serving to mark the transition from one epoch to the next. And Nightbeat says, and now it's on a trailer. The end. Now can we go? So
I guess this is the official introduction of Optimus Prime, Orion Pax's trailer.
Yeah, there's the trailer, and then of course the history lesson of the Autobot symbol and how it reappears throughout history, which is interesting that Alpha Trion knows that.
Yeah.
That was a very pivotal part of this. This is the first time we see the Autobot symbol in continuity. If you follow through like we're doing in continuity.
I think it's interesting how quickly Nightbeat dismisses it when it's actual history. Because Nightbeat's the type of robot that he's not religious, not superstitious. He's all about facts and mysteries. And the history of that symbol, I would have thought would have been more interesting to his character. But I guess
you are correct. Because later on we're going to get to see that Nightbeat is that kind of detective type. So yeah, you make a good point there. I didn't catch that the first time.
Nightbeat looks good.
He does, man. Camaro goggles is where it's at.
Yep.
Okay, so they're wondering whether or not that, which begs the question, how can we be certain that there's someone in there? What? Surely I can't be the only one here who's heard of Omega's conundrum. It's a pivotal part because that's the title of the comic, basically. When something ceases to be observed, how can we be sure it continues to exist? A closed box is unknowable. You have to open it.
Yeah. So basically Schrodinger's cat, but for Cybertronians, it's Omega's conundrum.
Yes, sir. All right, so 113 clicks into the rust spot. So they've already made their way into the rust spot, and
this is the first time I noticed that Alpha Trion had a alt mode, or I can't remember him using it before.
Oh shit.
Yep, little car. At least right now it's a little car.
You guys are picking up on all kinds of good stuff. Man, that's great because I didn't even know it was fucking the trailer. I didn't know that was. That's great. I'm glad to be learning. That's cool. What the fuck is Nightbeat? I see him back there.
Nightbeat is like it's like a little that almost looks Earth type vehicle.
It's like a green and yellow Bronco.
I was gonna say Blazer. Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Perfect. I like Bronco.
Yeah, it's kind of low to the ground, so I don't know if it's like a crossover hatchbacky type thing or if it's more like a Bronco. I know his car looks like a station wagon later on.
Oh yeah, that's right. It almost kind of looks like a hot rod station wagon.
Yeah,
kind of souped up.
Yeah, like a kind of like a little bit longer Mazda 5.
No shit.
Now this part's kind of important because a couple other issues we're going to talk about this. He says we're almost there. The test crater is up ahead. There's a ledge below the eastern rim that will provide some cover until the Decepticons arrive. Orion Pax. I'm curious, how do you know so much about the rust spot? Have you heard of Metroplex? Heard the legends? Yes. They say he left the planet eons ago, if he was ever real. Metroplex was real. He and I explored the planet together, every scrap of its surface. I'm as familiar with the topography of Cybertron as I am with the 15
precepts.
Just to say very. So, do you kind of know what he's talking about there, Briad, when he's going into his spiel right there?
So, kind of part of the history that you learn later on is that each one of the primes actually had their own dedicated Titan. Metroplex belonged to Alpha Trion. And Alpha Trion being the one he is, he's the archiver of the primes. He's supposed to be the one that writes everything down that ever happens. And in some ways also knows the future and what's going to happen based on the Covenant of Primus that he's written, because it kind of all unfolds before his eyes, which also allows him to see the future in the Covenant of Primus that he's writing. But he only archives how things actually happen, not how things are expected to happen. So he's a bit supernatural.
Okay, so see, you're a big picture guy. For me, it's all about the details. Look closely at something and it'll make sense. If it doesn't look closer. And this is when they get attacked by the slicers. I do believe it's the slicers right here. Yeah, be on your guard. This is slicer territory. Where was be on your guard 2 minutes ago? Sometimes foresight can be a burden. Do we see much more of these slicers?
Just that bottom panel. They put to show you what they look like.
Later on in the show, I say show, but the comics.
I can't remember if we do, but at the same time, sometimes there's a lot of little things like that I don't remember until they show up. But I don't know if we do or not. It would be interesting to know because obviously they were natural inhabitants of Cybertron back then. So where are they now? What are they doing?
Are they organic? They look partially organic.
They do, and I think I remember where you left off, Barry, whenever you were reading the comics originally. But you remember that Cybertron is partially organic.
Oh yeah.
It's mostly metallic, but it does have organic pieces that help it thrive.
Wow.
Now that's interesting. It's like right here, there's too many of them. They tend to hunt in packs of 20 or 30, much like the Diaclona tribe, who, all right, we get it, stuff. So there's a reference to the Diaclone stuff right there. I don't know much about the Diaclona tribe. I don't think it comes back again, or if it's just kind of a reference.
I think it's an Easter egg.
Yeah. Protect the trailer. Without the prisoner, we can't save Ratchet. So we get some more looks at these slicers right here, which I always thought was cool that Cybertron, like a lot of times, it's like the underworld of Cybertron has creatures that are different than on the surface. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Look how beefy Alpha Trion is.
Oh, yeah.
He's the archiver, and you always think of him as being kind of one of the weaker primes, but I mean, he's built to look like a stud.
Yeah. He definitely doesn't portray any weakness as far as I can see so far.
I'll call him
he's supposed to be the master of a blade, too.
The Beefmeister.
Yeah.
For a public intellect or for a public intellectual, you're pretty handy with your fists. I've been involved in some very heated debates. That's right. Off you go back into the mist. You okay, Pax? So they dismantle him. See?
There's where he gets
faceplate would have stopped that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just looks weird without a faceplate too.
He does. I would agree.
Well, Orion Pax looks okay with it, but Optimus Prime looks weird without it. Is that right? Because does Orion Pax end up putting one on? Oh wait, sorry.
Maybe. We'll
I
see.
remember in Q1,
Okay,
didn't have a faceplate.
Fucking.
But this is also back in the time where Hasbro was selling toys through the comics, and they made that like Thrilling 30 Orion Pax. It's not a bad toy. Like a little a deluxe size figure. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I find myself going through these comics. I'm like, I'd like to get a little interpretation of that figure. So, I mean, they do make a good representation of that. So after the fight or PAX, the trailer took a few hits and it's empty. Omega's Conundrum in action. No, he'll be miles away by now. So they're apparently somehow they just got knocked out of the trailer. It doesn't appear to be that they were running. Because they're found pretty easy, and I think they want to be found as stated over here.
And it's a they.
Yes. I call these. Run is the ugly one. They're Spark brothers, twins, triplets. The third one was destroyed years ago. Oh, what was that? His name? That I can't remember. Go ahead, Brad.
Oh, I was just saying it was Rack and Ruin.
Oh, yeah, but
I'm not sure. I don't think they ever say the third one's name.
No, they don't.
I don't know of any other Transformer they've ever said has been a Spark triplet. I know there's Spark twins.
That's right. In fact, when I was reading this, I'm thinking, because I've read it several times, but for some reason I was thinking it was going to say Spark twin. And I'm like, oh no, this is Spark Bros. You're right. Most of them are Spark twins that are. Who else is a Spark twin that we know
of? Twin Twist and Top Spin are actual twins to the point that they're actually a shared spark. So if one feels pain, the other feels it. Sunstreaker and Sideswipe are what you would call Spark brothers, where they actually have their own spark, but it's because the original spark separated when they were developing as a protoform. So they're not actually a shared spark; it's a spark that cloned. So there's Spark brothers and Spark twins.
So
of?
you kind of got to wonder, just going back to the original toys and all that. But what about Ironhide and Ratchet? I mean, what are they, Spark cousins or?
You'd think that, and I don't know. They never actually touch on those two, or any of the Datsuns or anything like that. I think it was just something they brought up as a concept to fit certain stories as needed.
Yeah, just mainly for Sunstreaker and Sideswipe, and then they expanded, I guess.
Yeah.
Right here, they're starting to realize that something's not on the up and up. I know what you mean, though. These two non-entities, in exchange for our chief medical officer, it seems a trifle one-sided. Maybe Zeta haggled. He strikes me as a pretty persuasive guy. So yeah, they're starting to think, wait a minute, these two insignificant, well, basically they're referencing as insignificant non-entities for a very important figure to the Autobot cause. So
yeah, that's the first time they mentioned Killmaster.
Killmaster, who is Killmaster?
You have never got to that in the comics, so
Okay,
it's actually much later on. But Killmaster has a magic wand.
Okay, yeah, that wasn't making a lot of sense to me when I read that, so it's going to make sense later.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense later, but yeah, Killmaster, magic wand. As it implies, he's a master of killing.
There's some rhetoric between Pax and these two that I need to find because it's important for later.
So yeah, he removes their helmets, which are sensory deprivation helmets, so you can see their faces and
Yeah.
just
So
kind of who they are.
what's the deal here? Megatron's prepared to hand over the Autobots' chief medical officer in exchange for you. That makes you very special. We're not special. We're just grunts. We're just grunts. Grunts who got captured. We're not special. You're not combiners, are you? I've heard Megatron's newest favorite is obsessed with Gestalt technology. We're not combiners. Can you imagine combining with him? It's bad enough being locked up in a trailer together. We don't even have alt modes. Oops. Our transformation cogs stopped working. We pushed them too hard. So that's important for later that we will find out. It's on, let's see. And they're kind of talking about just Pax and running as a giblet with these two. Instantaneous conversion. Can't say I've ever tried it. You should one mode to another before you can say roll out. It's all in the spin of the transformation cog. You close down all the safety valves and bang, you're there. I'm more interested in that as Pax points his Decepticon symbol. The badge? I want to understand what it means. There was a time when I thought I understood. In fact, I almost sympathized. No, that's dishonest. I did sympathize. I thought this world needed changing, just like Megatron. But now with Zeta in charge, Zeta Prime, things are changing, aren't they? Slowly, I'll grant you. But if you look at that badge and feel at ease, if you feel proud, even then, okay, I guess you and I just see the world differently. But if you look at it and think just for a second, how did this happen? Then stop, tear it off, and walk away.
Always trying to be the voice of reason.
Is anyone else reading or listening to this and hearing Optimus Prime's voice, or are they hearing Orion Pax's voice from the cartoon? Because I'm hearing an Orion Pax voice.
I hear Pax voice.
Pack. That here exactly.
Like just a softer, younger Prime, pretty much is what I hear.
I don't have a voice when I read that, because when I read these comics, that's a very good point you make.
Oh no! It's absolutely perfect. You're doing great. No, what I was suggesting was Pax.
Orion Pack.
I'm thinking of him as a young Optimus Prime as well, and he's learning and he's going through life and he's trying to figure shit out because he's so fucking young. And I don't hear our 1986 movie Optimus Prime. I don't hear that voice. I hear
you don't get that till you get the Matrix. It gives you that Barry White, John Wayne deep voice.
Don't hear Peter Cullen yet.
Now there are several characters when I read these comics in my head. They sound just like, like Prime, Grimlock. There's just several people that when I read comics in my head, I can actually hear their voices when I'm reading it. Now, Pax, to me, no, because there's never been a definitive voice of Pax. It's just been Prime. So when I read that, I don't hear any type of voice. Don't hand us over, please. He'll kill us, Megatron. We messed up and we got captured. Please get back in the trailer. They're coming, and here comes Thundercracker, and I'm not sure who these other two are. These other two jabroni jets are.
That'd be Rainmakers. The purple one is generally called Ion Storm. I don't know if they want to call that one Acid Storm because the green is not quite right.
Yeah. Thundercracker, I presume. Hand over your weapons and follow me.
Now, do these Seekers, they look more of a Fall of Cybertron?
Oh, yeah, I was going to touch on that. They look good.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just trying to bring that up because I love how they kind of bring in the different modes from different sources, and of course, I love the Fall of Cybertron and War for Cybertron games.
So when this comic was produced, the Thrilling 30 and the War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron toys were out. And so they were pushing toys, and the Seekers came out in the Fall of Cybertron line.
Yeah, this is a pimp for some of the toys, but what's nice is it's still a good story. The story doesn't sacrifice for them trying to sell toys in this, in my opinion.
Still good fan service for the fans of the games and the other, sources.
Yeah, I think the Thrilling 30 line, they didn't really involve much of kind of deteriorating the story any. That was kind of more kind of what Combiner Wars did, because they just really pushed combiners really hard.
And now they're going to find out who's behind all this, and we find out that Bludgeon, it looks kind of to me like a fighting arena, like we saw with Megatron Origins. Not as populated, but
Yep.
so we get some rhetoric with Pax and Bludgeon, which I always love. That I love that drawing of that head with Bludgeon, like the whole lower jaw's torn out and it's just circuitry. I've always liked that.
Yep.
Did he get fucked up? Are we going to learn that, or is that something that you can touch base on right now?
Well, I don't think it ever actually says how Bludgeon's face ended up like that. They drew it like that just to match how his Pretender body always looked from the old toy, always having a skull. So they just kind of drew it like that to represent like a samurai mask with a skull face.
And who's the toy line? I'm sorry. Who's the toy line that came out? Because even his chest looks like or his torso looks like a fucking skull too.
Yep.
Oh, good call. I didn't notice that.
Well, there's a toy that actually. Ooh, I want to say it's. I'll try and think of it. I don't want to interrupt, but
I've got it. It's the Hunt for the Decepticons, Revenge of the Fallen. When he's a tank, and his chest has a skull look.
Yeah.
Right here, we're getting ready to find out the true intentions. I see you brought us what we wanted. Thundercracker, the noose. What are you doing? Collecting our prize? Don't worry. We still intend on dispatching Run and Jump, or whatever they're called. So it's not been a wasted journey. But it's Alpha Tron we really wanted. That's why they had to meet in the rust spot, because they knew they would get a hold and communicate with the right Alpha Trion to head this mission up. Because he's like he knows the in and out. I think they say it right here. That's why you chose the rust spot as a rendezvous. You knew he was the only one who could lead us here. And now he can lead us to Metroplex. So see, that's what this whole end game's about. They're trying to find Metroplex. It says, you see, Megatron believes Metroplex is real, and that inside him is a pinprick of trans-dimensional space. We can use it to create a space bridge and traverse the galaxy on foot. Just imagine how far the Decepticon influence would spread if every planet was within marching distance. So, like, that's a good strategy, in my opinion. I mean, so at this point in time, they are not doing any space bridge. They're not doing any space jumping. Any what I'm gonna call it.
No. Are you
Warping, teleporting?
Yeah, that's not a thing right now. They can't execute that.
How ballsy?
I think that space bridge technology was lost.
Yeah, it was lost because the Titans were gone. Because each Titan actually has its own space bridge inside of it. Well, not space bridge, but they do have that pinprick of transdimensional space or whatever they want to call it, they have the ability to jump space and time.
What were you saying, Marcos?
How I was gonna write this one down, but how ballsy do you have to be to fucking go after Metroplex? He's a fucking big ass fucking some bitch, man. You better have some fucking armor, some fucking something going after him because he's too big. And then the space bridge technology that kind of like whenever you're watching the G1 cartoon and Optimus Prime transforms into the robot and his trailer gets dodged back into that same dimensional goneness or whatever you want to call it, where it's not there.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing that maybe Optimus Prime's trailer will carry in it? Is the pinprick?
Sure, why not?
Oh, it never mentions that though, huh? Never.
No.
Okay.
No, actually, throughout the comics, there's a lot of times Prime is rolling without his trailer. And that when he does roll with it, it actually has a purpose.
Cool.
Yeah, and Pax tells Bludgeon right here that he demands say Megatron, but he gets shut down. You're not going to see. Now here's where we have the fight. Let's see. They're all kind of skirmishing. And this is kind of where you do see that Alpha or that Orion Pax he's got a little bit of metal, I may not be as smart as Alpha Trion, but I can say bring it on in 4,000 languages.
That's pretty damn smart.
Yeah. So is he still the historian? Well, I guess they do get to that later. So yeah, he is a historian and he's got the smarts and the brawn.
Yeah. Yeah, he was an historian and he's also a police officer.
Well, maybe not brawn as so much as really good tactical sense.
Yeah.
Let's see. So the fight breaks out. And what's going to end up happening is Ratchet, Nightbeat, and Alpha Trion escape. And Bludgeon captures Orion Pax. Basically, that's what's going to happen there. I have plans. One word. Why? Variety. Anyone can shoot an Autobot. But this, Orion Pax, chained to a plummeting shuttle, this is new. Imagination Pax. It's what sets us apart from the Turbo Foxes. The shuttle is programmed to fly clear of the rust spot and crash into the nearest settlement, which is Peptex Iacon. Doesn't matter. Not relevant. So long as it's densely populated. You're going to kill civilians with this stunt, Bludgeon? I thought we were supposed to be fighting on their behalf. Every civilian is a Decepticon at heart. Those that die today are martyrs. I envy them. So we definitely see Thundercracker, which is important later. We see that he's questioning what Bludgeon is doing. Doesn't seem to be adding up to what their cause is supposed to be.
Yeah, Bludgeon's supposed to be the honorable one. He's always quoting died like an honorable warrior and stuff like that.
So we get to see Pax right here try to kind of manipulate Bludgeon. You'll go far in this brave new world, Bludgeon. The way you think, the way you present yourself as a connoisseur of pain, you'll climb very high. You're trying to stall me, but go on. You'll rise up the Decepticon ranks by virtue of your disregard for others, until finally you'll stand shoulder to shoulder with Megatron, and then you'll overachieve yourself, and you'll fall farther than you climbed, and your name will be synonymous with failure and arrogance and misplaced ambition. Is that so? Well, whatever happens, you won't be around to see it.
I called that. Yeah.
Oh, so he's kind of thinking to himself here, as he's kind of plummeting toward Cybertron.
Yeah, they launched the rocket. Notice it ricochets off a bigger shuttle and is now heading somewhere.
It says, "Me and my big visible mouth. The collision has knocked me off course. In 5 minutes' time, I'll be directly over Icon. No doubt about it. We should definitely have gone with Plan B. The chains refuse to budge, even though I'm trying as hard as I can to break them. Wait, as hard as I can? Maybe, but not as fast as I can. What did Rack and Ruin call it? Instantaneous conversion. If I ignore Kaput's advice and spin my transformation cog fast enough, maybe I can." And he achieves it. Now all I need to do is disable the autopilot. Find a wide open space and set her down gently. So he does. He succeeds in saving the population and nobody gets killed. Wheeljack's going to kill me when he sees what I've done to his new body. And it's a good body, too. Almost perfect. Almost. That's when he picks up his mouth guard, and there you go.
Just missing the antenna.
Yep. So that would conclude.
That would conclude Pat from being in the discussion. Oh, that's all funny. Dude, that was a good one. I like that one. I like that one a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how I know this came out afterward, I think, but after Thundercracker, had expressed his, opinions about what the Decepticons were doing in modern day. But I'm glad that they, that they on this flashback that they brought that in and kind of, showed that he was thinking it even back then, because there's like what 4 million years between then and the supposed to be the modern day. Is that right?
Yeah. Gives you a perspective of how old the Seekers are, because they were there from the beginning, and just how long Thundercracker can actually hold true, real honor and change.
So I thought that was a good spotlight. That was a good read. I thought it a bit, and it's setting us up pretty good.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was cool.
All right.
Yeah,
So
definitely a good
does anybody else have anything to add?
I've got questions. I got
What do you
questions.
got?
I've got like
Go
6
ahead.
questions, but
Yeah, go for sure.
for what ship, even though that one, because in the beginning, what ship is Orion Pax on in the intro? What did they call that? Is it just some random ship that that Bludgeon had chilling, and he was just gonna fucking launch it and kill it?
Yeah, it looked like just some random ship that they had there at the rust spot.
Yeah.
Just ready to fucking die anyway. And
Yeah,
then
it looked like a one-person, like, small ship.
so not everything transforms. Like that ship wasn't a fucking transformer in like sleep state and or anything like that. It was just a fucking ship that they do.
I think they still have like vehicles, non-sentient, equipment and vehicles.
Yeah, just like the Ark. They've got small shuttles, they've got large shuttles. And even like Rack and Ruin don't transform because they wore out their transformation cogs. But you also find out that there are a set number of Cybertronians that are called monoformers. And it's because they purposely remove their transformation cog in defiance of the functionalist way of life, which is whatever your function is, that's what it is for the rest of your life. So if you're a drill tank like Megatron, you're a drill tank, you work in the mines. So they remove their T-Cog so they can't even transform. And then if they can, they start removing the kibble and any excess pieces to show even what kind of alt mode they had. So they're just robots.
Damn. The fucking writers were thinking pretty good. So we were talking about Rack and Ruin and there being twins and having a shared spark and or what type of twin. But so I know that the Devastator hasn't come into the continuity yet, but do you think Devastator has the shared spark? Are they all twins? Are they just all brothers? Are they how do they? We can get into combiners later. I don't know if combiners enter IDW except for what I've read over here, but would they be a shared spark or twins?
The real basic thing about combiners is they all have their own spark, whether they're spark brothers, spark twins, or whatever. They've all got their own spark, but when they merge or when they combine, their sparks commingle with each other instantaneously at the same time. So all 6 of them, in Devastator's case, can think together, converse together instantaneously, but they also have to work together, which means making decisions together to make the combiner work. And they actually cover that in depth later on during Combiner Wars. They cover it a little bit too coming up when we see our first combiner. That was an experiment, and it did not go well.
Yeah, because Devastator, the Constructicons were always kind of in sync, and they were, seemed to be more cognitive than other combiners that didn't really get along. Like even from G1 cartoon, you remember Bruticus when he merged. One, he had military minds. I think what's his name, the leader?
Onslaught.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a tactician, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a brilliant strategist and tactician.
Yeah, and because they didn't really click very well when they merged, Bruticus just became just a big dumb powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like me and my big visible mouth. That's great. And then the last thing I saw was when Orion Pax was strapped to the ship and he was talking to Bludgeon. He either knew he wasn't gonna die, or Orion Pax just ain't no bitch and was like, "Fuck it, you gonna kill me? Fucking kill me, motherfucker! I'm strapped to this, but look at this." Fuck you, as he's flying off and out, gonna get fucking annihilated. But he didn't act like, "Oh, please don't kill me, please, no, give me another chance." He was like, "Hey,
I think it was a little bit of both.
yeah, you're gonna get yours."
Orion Pax is always the kind that information is knowledge. So the more he could get out of that situation to take with him, the better, because he probably knows he could figure out a way to survive. It's just, survive with launch or survive and you got a little bit of tactical information from the enemy.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Like, he's not a coward. Like, when you talk, when I talk about Megatron, how much I like him. I like Optimus Prime a lot because he's not a coward. He's strong.
Also, you got to remember he's tough because it didn't crash in the city, but it still crashed.
So. Yeah, and he doesn't have the Matrix right now. He's got a custom built body.
Right.
But I think also part of the questioning and stuff comes from just Orion Pax being an historian. He has genuine curiosity and genuine want for understanding. So, like the way he was questioning Rack and Ruin, I don't see it really as any different in questioning Bludgeon, except the subject matter. So Bludgeon, the why, here, and how of really just what's going on, versus Rack and Ruin, questioning why Decepticon, just why.
Did they make a Rack and Ruin toy with 2 heads?
Nah, it's a Cyberverse toy. It's pretty dumb.
Yeah. But it's Rack and Ruin, they call him, right?
Yeah. The only other people I know of that have created a toy was Fans Project, and they broke apart and became armor for their Roadbuster toy.
So it's like the ice cream truck in Bayverse.
Yeah.
Well, they were Rack and Ruin were their own individual robots and wore like upgrade pieces, like special like leg armor, feet armor, and one of them had like weaponry and armor. but all of that stuff would come off, and you could outfit up Roadbuster with it to make him a lot bigger.
Hmm.
So it was a pretty neat toy at the time,
Cool.
but
Alright.
they did a exclusive on it.
Well, is that last your question, Marcos?
Yeah, those were great.
Okay.
I was writing shit down. I loved it.
Cool. I'm going to make some parting comments here. I think we do see the fact that where Orion Pax is heading. He's smart. He has intellect. He has a strength. He has tactical ability. We can see that he just doesn't get it for no reason, and we're still not done seeing his progression. So, with that being said, that was Transformers Spotlight Orion Pax, brought to you by Briag, Ramrod, Marcos, and myself. We'll see you next Tuesday. So if y'all got anything else to say, we're going to get it.
I love Megatron.
It wasn't Hot Rod's fault.